So I kind of feel like we need to like start this out. Okay, we're gonna start this shindig out, and I'm kind of excited because I came across this article a couple weeks ago, and I shot it over to my guy Mark, and I'm like, look at this, look at this.
I thought this
that more women, single women, own homes in the United States of America than men.
Absolutely, and I thought that it was pretty impressive. Number one, number two, it actually makes good sense in my mind. But I'm sure this is a conversation that will get people riled up and be able to have some kind of controversy. But I think we should start with the article. Let's run through it, and then we'll comment about it, because there's some good stuff in this thing. And if it's all based on data and statistics, well, then we can't argue with it. We can just give opinions and all that good stuff. Okay, so I've got the article here up on the screen, and I'll read some of this. So single women own more homes than single men in the U.S., and this is a study that was done. I believe that these are 3 bullet points that they pull from the article. Super surprising stuff. Single women own 2.7 million more homes than their male counterparts. Huge number. We're not talking little numbers. So in 2021, single women owned 10.76 million homes, while men owned 8.12 million. Bureau of Labor Statistics, women's median weekly earnings are 83% of men's. So really, that in itself is yeah, go ahead.
If you take 2.7 million and you just divide it by 50, that's like 54,000 homes. Like, obviously, there's probably certain states that are more than others, but it's 54,000 homes more in each state.
In each state, yes.
Yeah, so like 2.7 million is a big number, but when you put that down into each state, that's a ton of homes. That's like cities' populations. That was
Prospectively, yes.
Population.
Yes.
Anyways, go back to the article. I just wanted to hurry through the math.
No, that's good stuff. Okay, so here we are back to the article, and those were just some bullet points from that article itself, but let's get into this. It says U.S. women, particularly those who are unmarried, own more homes than single men do, according to the new study. A LendingTree study found single women owning 2.7 million more homes nationally than their male counterparts, with roughly 13% of those women holding the title of their homes, compared to 10% of men. Studies found that home ownership gender gap has increased slightly since 2021. Single women own 10.76 million homes across the U.S. in 2021, while men own 8.12 million, and the difference of 2.6 million. The 2020 gap of 2.71 million is 70,000 homes higher than 2021, meaning this doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. So then they get into some more data. It says economy to determine voter choice. Nope, that's an ad. Okay. According to the Pew Research Center, women face social and economic barriers to wealth creation. Additionally, they continue to earn an average of 82 cents for every dollar that a man for the same work. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, women's median weekly earnings is only 83% of men's. LendingTree study was based on an analysis of data from the U.S. Census Bureau in 2022, American Community Surveys, and accounts for demographic factors, including homeowners' age, income, education, and racial background. Then it goes on to say, on average, home equity accounts for nearly 20% of the household wealth. According to 2020 U.S. Census Bureau report, the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis reports the median wealth of women-headed households is 45% lower than those of men. And I think that's the end of that article, but let's talk about this, because there's some things within this that are obviously statistics, so you can't argue with it. It's just data, but data is only as good as the people that actually answer that survey or what have you. But then there's something that it mentions about women being 83% of the man's 100% earnings in the same work. That, to me, I don't know to believe that or not, simply because men and women, there are jobs that men go into that women would not, vice versa. Like, I don't even know what to use as an example.
Oh, I can tell you.
Go ahead.
Framing a house is 90% men, if not more than that.
Sure.
Dental assisting, dental hygiene is women. Like there's just some roles I had my teeth cleaned a lot in my 40 plus years. Never had a man touch my teeth to clean them. So,
and that's not being sexist. That's just kind of going based on what you've experienced thus far. I mean, similar to, let's call it hairstylists. No, they're not all women, but there are very few men.
Yeah.
Sewing, seamstresses, that's mostly women. Now, when you compare apples to apples, like a loan officer, Deb, you've got the same opportunity to make the same kind of money as I do, just like anybody else. So I guess it surprises me that that there is a gap, and how accurate that information is, I don't know, simply because I personally have not experienced that, but I'm sure there are some people that have. I'm not going to discredit them or anything like that. I'm just saying I have not experienced that just yet.
Yeah, and I think it is there more than we realize. Like we have in our area, we refer to it as the site, which is like a nuclear facility. Lots of testing and stuff goes out there. And you hear that a lot, that men get hired for this role and women do too, but their pay scales are different. Not the McDonald's type stuff, not the work at the gas station as a teller type stuff. But I think it probably isn't too far off.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. I mean, it goes back to clear the founding fathers how long was it before women even had rights to vote? So women have always naturally been under men, and that's just.
And here's a kind of to your point, since women were now able to vote, able to get out there and get a job, all that good stuff, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, let's be real and prospectively, it was not that long ago. And for it to be, let's call it, 17% away from men, that's a pretty big gap that they filled very, very quickly, in my opinion. Is it going to reach 100% overnight? I don't think that that's possible. I think everything runs its course and takes time to do things like that, especially a shift in such a big range. But I think it's kind of silly for people to expect it to shift overnight. Now, to the article, and based on the data, at least we know women are doing the right things with their money. You know?
Yeah. Well, and as I thought about this, I was like, oh, you know what? It's because women are the ones that are the budgeters. They're the ones that are paying the bills, that are the ones that are taking care of that. But no, I have a really good mix of when I have a client come in, okay, who you can figure out real quickly who is in control of certain parts of the relationship.
Sure.
And so I've talked to women that are like, my husband has no clue. I could take all of our money and he'd never even know. And vice versa.
Vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, well, that's not even the case. It's just our women, okay, now hear me out on this.
Sure.
I have 4 sons. I was raised with a brother. I dwell in the world of testosterone. And so I was trying to think, maybe men just aren't as good with their money. But I don't know that that's the case either, though, because my boys are incredibly good with their money, but I'm also psycho and I've scared the crap out of them. But if you look at the people that you have to guide in fixing things, I do feel like sometimes credit issues are leaning more towards men. So I wonder if it's kind of, they're not capable of buying property because they haven't fixed their credit. they aren't as paperwork savvy. A lot of men are swing a hammer type thing. They're not paperwork pushers naturally.
I can totally see that. Now, a big thing that we're overlooking that I think has withstood the testament of time is women mature faster than men.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? I'll be honest. I'm still kind of a big kid, and my level of maturity may sway at times when I make a distasteful joke or what have you, whereas a woman is more. Now, I don't know. You can't even say that because I know some women that'll hit you with a, whoa, I can't believe she said that. But one thing that I want to kind of bring to light is, and I mentioned it before, I don't know if you can see this, but it says gender ratios in the US as of 2023. So there are, what is that? 168, we'll just round, 168 million men in the US, and there are 171 million women in the US. So there's almost 3 million more women in the US than there are men. I guess the question is, are they taking that into consideration as well when they're bringing these stats? Because stats are only as good as what you're using them for and where you got them from.
But that's only about 11%.
That's not
the right way.
Yeah, it's not a huge difference.
Yeah, even if I took that out and said, okay, well, let's just compare the first 1.6 and the first 1.6. Women are still surpassing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think though, when you look at, this is what all of a sudden my aha moment was, and now just makes some people crazy, but most people, when they go through divorces, children are living with moms.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then there are homes needed for moms and kids where dads can just crash in an apartment. Their needs are different.
Right.
And so that could come into it just a little bit too. And I've come in contact with a handful of men that's what they want.
Right.
I have men come in with their ex-wives and say, I just need to make sure she has a home for my children. I don't need one.
Correct.
So I think that comes into it big time.
Well, I mean, you raised another good point that I didn't even think about, but when they get the divorce, I know in Texas, most of the time, like you said, the kids go with the mom, and I have worked with many divorce decrees, and for the most part, the women get the house too.
Yeah.
So being that they're using single women as the statistic, how many of those single women were awarded the home? I'm not saying it's going to be a big number or anything like that, but I think there's some data missing from this for it to be on an even playing field. But regardless, it's still a pretty wide gap, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can
it's
add
interesting to think about, though, in regards to that the fact that women are all we need to be equal to men. We need to have all these rights. We need to have all these things. We need to be equal. Well, this is kind of one of those swings.
Like the other direction.
Yeah.
So maybe we should get the picket signs and get some men together to go out and, hey, we need home ownership. Well, I mean, either get your stuff together or have them update these stats. Either way, you can't argue with the fact that there are more single women that own homes than men, period. And whether it is because they're more mature, whether it was gifted to them in the divorce decree, regardless, I believe that it is the right thing to do, especially from a man's perspective. Chivalry is not dead. I want my kids to be taken care of. I want my ex-spouse to be taken care of, regardless if it was my fault or her fault or whatever the case. I wouldn't know, but I don't know. Is that something that you believe may be a chivalry type thing? I don't know, because I will tell you personal experience. I don't feel like I've approved more single women than single men. I think it's pretty equal, and just based on my 13 years of experience in this.
yeah, the problem is that I don't know. I'm just happy their loan closed and they bought a house. Like I don't have the ability to like, oh well, that's my 7th single woman that I've done since January 1st. I don't
No
know.
clue.
And I really don't know, but I guess it's something we should think about. It doesn't really even matter.
Now, I will tell you that I have taken note of the amount of people that apply jointly, and I've got to remove the male, and the lady stays on because the male messed up his credit. It's not an income thing. It's more of a credit thing. So women, in my opinion, are more responsible than men credit-wise. I wonder if I could look that up. Give me 2 seconds. Let's see here.
While you're looking that up,
yeah.
Idaho's a community property state. I don't think Texas is, right?
Texas is community property. Yep.
Oh, it is a community property. So you still have to acknowledge some of those things on certain loans. But yeah. I just think that this is a gloating time. Like, I feel like if you're a single woman, you should just read that headline and go, booyah. Yeah, I'm better. But not really. But you should be able to take it as bragging rights for a second.
I agree. I agree. Oh, here we go. This is fun to see. So this says that the Federal Reserve conducted an extensive analysis of credit of thousands of credit scores versus men and women. They found that among men and women of similar ages, men and women have nearly identical credit scores, but the average man's score is slightly higher, which I guess because I'm in Texas, our scores on average are actually lower than the rest of the United States. Don't know why, but it is true. I mean, our average credit score in Texas is like 670, whereas you guys is 700 and something, as you go further north.
It's true. I feel right now our average is 590 because
we'll take them. Yes, right there with you.
Interesting though, as I've talked to people and we've pulled credit reports, most of the time, I really do feel this strongly that most of the time women's credit scores are higher than men's.
Same. Oh, absolutely. A matter of fact, I have a saying when I am on a call with a married couple that I go through each time, and it's always the same. That's okay. Women's is always better, brother. Like, don't worry. It's always better. And then when I see them get a little butthurt, I go, it's okay. We know you pay for everything, right? Like to give him a little boost in his ego or testosterone. I don't want to strip you of your manhood, brother. But
well, I just wonder if some of it goes down to our men scored worse, like car insurance. Men are rated worse than women. So I wonder if there's something behind the scenes there too that they don't. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense why they would do that. But there's a lot of factors that could feed into this article as to why. Obviously, credit scores. I mean, whether that article says they're equal or not,
right?
Credit scores, could that feed into it? The lack of financial discipline. Men sometimes just have to have the greatest truck and the greatest snowmobile and the greatest. I think that's kind of a natural man thing. I don't know why, but most men like to be able to show off their big trucks and they're cooler.
You're right.
Women are happy with their little cars. So the price point of a big truck to a little car is huge.
Sure.
And so it's just as simple as those little comparisons. There's a lot of little things feeding into facts that women should statistically be higher. That's just, it makes logical sense.
Yeah. Did you see the title of this thing? Who runs the world? Girls. I mean, let's face it. Men, in my opinion, do every damn thing that they can in a day based on the perception of a woman. They buy that big truck because they think the woman's going to like it. They wear their hair a certain way because they think, I mean, obviously there is a small select few that is searching for the same equal, what have you. But even still, let's say lesbians, let's be honest about lesbians. They are making their decisions based off what they think a woman's going to want, etc. So I don't know. That's a tough conundrum. I love the stat. I love seeing that. And I also love being able to kind of tuck that away whenever I'm having a debate about equal pay and equal rights. I'm like, well, at least you're doing the right things with your money. Why?
Yeah.
Because you guys own more homes than men. Period.
Yeah. Well, and I'm very traditional in my world, and I came from a home that my dad provided for our family. My
Yeah,
mom
same.
obviously helped everywhere she could, but so I have this very traditional mom cooks the meals, dad brings home the money type of a situation.
Same.
And so when you've got these women that want to have these certain roles and certain capacities in leaderships and all of this, I don't have that mentality. And so to read this article, I'm thinking, oh, I hope that isn't the reason why it was looked at, is to, if we do this study to make women feel like they have more power, I hope that wasn't why it was done. Like, it
Good
doesn't really
point.
tell us why they did it, but
Right.
I hope that wasn't the purpose behind it, is to be able to put one more arrow in a woman's backpack to be able to fight back at men. 'Cause
Right.
in the traditional sense of things, I think it's awesome that women have roles outside of the home. I've always been a working mom, so that's just how my role has been. But I also think there's a lot to be said for women to be able to be home and taking care of their children too. Women are natural nurturers.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
like instilled in them to be kinder and not as gruff as men. And I don't know. It's also a huge shout out to women, really all people, but let's just pick on women because they're the title of this article is, if you were in a crappy relationship, you're now single, you feel like you can't even survive because your man did everything for you, and how are you going to move on? Well, statistically, girlfriend, you can buy a house because you're that there. Historically, single women are doing it all over. So don't get grumpy about your life. Let's go. Let's buy you a house.
I like that
Take it
message.
as
Yeah.
excitement.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, I don't know. I guess back to the purpose of this article, posting these statistics when in the media you're seeing the opposite being portrayed. This is a toot your horn as loud as you can, ladies. I mean, and also don't go back to the victim mentality because you're winning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear here. I can't say that for everybody, but again, I feel like I have to say that part. I can't say that for everything these days. When clearly statistics are showing the real truth of the matter. And to sum it up, men, grow up, dudes.
Step it up, dude.
Get your stuff together. This is, I'm not saying it's a competition, but I think we should at least take a small sense in pride or a hit to our pride zone when we see stuff like this. For me, as a mortgage lender, I'm thinking, hey, that's awesome. Maybe I need to have more conversations with single women to see if they want to buy a home. But the concept of pumping men up so that they can see, hey, we're behind. I guess the typical answer is we've always been behind. It takes us longer to mature. Matter of fact, we have our growth spurts later in life. We mature later. And again, let's face it, we do everything we do every day for a woman in some way, shape, or form. We open doors, and hopefully you guys see that in your market. But Texas, we're all about being polite. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. We open doors. Chivalry is not dead in Texas. Matter of fact, when I go up to New York, they call me out, and I'm talking anybody and everybody. I'm in a cab, and after 4 minutes in the conversation, they're like, "You from Texas?" I'm like, "How the hell do you know that?" Like, "You're way too nice." Like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So,
They say that about the farm boys in Idaho too.
I believe that.
Yeah. And I raised my sons that way. When you have a house full of boys, you just dream that maybe they'll bring you home a good daughter-in-law so that you have a daughter in your life.
Yeah.
And so they learned how to do dishes and open doors. And
Same.
I
And
also
my mom kicked my ass on a regular basis. She said, "You are going to be a man someday." And my brother, same thing. You know, she was tough, but man, she's an awesome lady.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think it's just a sentiment to all people involved, single women, single men, whatever. Let that be a driving force of statistically single people are still buying homes.
Touche.
So no matter what your role, situation, life event, decisions you made, mistakes you made, whatever, who cares if you're single? Look,
That's right.
buy a house. Don't do that statistic.
Yeah, and based on these statistics, year over year, it's increasing year over year. So typically, we don't go backwards with anything with like technology or anything else. So why would we think that this is going to change? The only way to, I guess, motivate yourself is maybe to look at this statistic and see in yourself if that's something that you want to stay relevant moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to pick sides. I think all people, if it's right for them, should own a home for the small sense of, don't you want to have something in life that you're actually building equity in, have a stake in your real estate that you own, can feel accomplished, etc., versus just going through life and I don't know, not having that piece of the pie. I always think back to, do you remember the movie Far and Away with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, where it was like back in the day, they used to have those stampedes where it's like, okay, everybody go. And wherever you get to, you put your flag in the yard or in the land, and that was your land. Kind of like that same concept. I think women are running faster than men right now.
Yeah. Yeah. They have a lot to prove. For whatever reason, they have a lot to prove. I don't quite understand. You know, we've got this weird situation in our country that we can't just be who we are and be enough. We have to have the nicer this or the bigger that or whatever.
Right.
Like somewhere along the lines, stop trying to prove all these things and just be content where you are in a way. But that's a whole other side note.
Content, but hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's awesome as we wrap this up for it to be just known. Single ladies own more homes than men, no matter what. Like you take the level out the percentage of population, they still own more. But take away from this the fact that if you are single anything, it's not out of sight. Like you can do this.
You can do this. Absolutely. Whether it's single men, single woman, if you're over 18, 2 years of employment, you don't even necessarily have to have a bunch of funds in the bank, because at the end of the day, you've got to live somewhere, and you'd much rather start building your own equity versus someone else's. And if it's any kind of motivation, men, women are beating you.
Step it up, guys.
Step it up. Step it up, Buttercup. All right. Well, that was a good conversation, and I hope that maybe we fired somebody up to get off of that fence and join the statistics.
Yeah.
Pick a side.
Yeah. or don't. Whatever. We don't care. But do something. Don't just sit in a rut, right?
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, until the next one, next week, we'll be talking about who knows.
I will find something. Somewhere along the lines, Mark, we got to find something to knock out, drag out, brawl.
Yeah. I want to argue with you if it's even possible.
I know. In my personality, people automatically think that I can really fire up and I can argue, but I also just can chill for a second.
You're very logical and reasonable. And you don't come from a place of feelings, you come from that place of logic. And that's what's kind of tough, is when we have any kind of debate, we both are the type of people that will level. Like, okay, let me hear your side. Let me hear your side. Well, that actually makes sense. Let's meet in the middle on this concept.
Yeah. We're going to find something, though.
We will find something.
Yep. I don't know what it is. We might have to pull some religion in or politics. We might have to pull something in just just to, because isn't that the most controversial thing?
Yeah,
You know,
politics and religion.
men,
That's the
single
thing you
women.
don't talk about. Let's go there.
Yeah. Single men, single women, men wanting to become women, women wanting to become men, whatever. Pull on some religion, pull on some politics. Like, we could just do one 30-minute podcast on that and we could blow up the whole social media.
Hey, watch this. Hey, Deb, can men have babies?
Oh, God.
We'll end on that note.
Have a good week, everybody. Have a
See
good week.
ya! We do mortgages.